We're going to jump right over to Planet Brad. Coach Korn, what do you have for us?
Good morning. Good morning. Wow, it's so amazing how many different ways this topic has shown up with everybody here. I've already got a page of notes. So I'm going to throw one more angle in here. And, what I have found when I'm coaching a lot of business people is they want to grow too fast. And salaries are typically one of the largest expenses on a P&L for a business. And I just watch sometimes people get that leverage before they're really ready for the leverage. So I have ingrained in me the E-Myth principles, and where Michael Gerber talks about separating you from your business. You are not what you do. You are doing things in what you do, and when you can create systems around what you do, even if it's coaching, right? The coaching is coaching, and you are playing roles in that. So I've created the process, the system to create the perfect systems. And it's about just basically documenting everything that you're doing. The best time to do this is right now when it's you and you're listening to this going, man, I need leverage. And you want to grow the right way and grow the smart way and grow the profitable way and not do it too fast, because so many businesses go out of business because they've got their expenses ahead of their income and their profit. So once you separate yourself from your business and you start documenting everything, then it gets you to the point in your business where you're the most efficient you can be. And this is where, now I need leverage. I need to be able to get back out of doing these things. And it might start with doing the dishes and the laundry right now today, but those things need to go away by systematizing your business. And here's the cool part. So I create a perfect process. I write down in a notebook every activity that I'm doing in my role, from the time I start this project till it finishes, from the time I list a house until it closes, from the time I, meet someone until we do business together. And it's all systematized in a campaign or an action plan that just flows, right? So now what happens is if you take that list where you just wrote down everything, say for like 2 weeks, just track everything you do, put every item on a sticky note. I'm going to try and explain this quickly, but put everything you just did on its own sticky note, and then just start sticking the sticky notes on the wall in the perfect order that you would love to see your process go to be as efficient as possible. Now, take those sticky notes, once you got them in the right order, put them, like, say, on a spreadsheet in the first column from step one all the way to the end. In the second column, put when that happens. Does this happen one day after I meet somebody? Does it happen 2 weeks after I meet somebody? And then this is the fun part. The columns that follow are the names of the people on your team. So at first, it might just be you in the first column, and you've got all the X's. You're doing everything. Now, when you can get to the point where you can leverage, you can take some of those X's off of your column and put them on the new person's column. And we call that, looking at the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you do every day generated 80% of your income yesterday. So if you can figure out what that 20% is, you could do it 40% of the day and double your income. So you take those X's off of the front column under your name that are the 80% stuff and put them in somebody else's column when you can bring them. One other thing I usually coach on is if you create the perfect system and you make yourself more efficient, then you should be able to start stockpiling that salary for that future person for 2 or 3 months in a separate account that you never have to touch, so that you have a cush of that salary there. So when you bring somebody on, that pressure of trying to keep them employed so they can feed their family is relieved with a 3 month cush or whatever. Once you get that third month in, man, hire that person. But now what you've done is you've tweaked your systems to be as efficient as you possibly can get them to get you to more productivity. You don't hire somebody who's not been in your world to create all your systems for you. They don't know what your systems are. So that just, you can move those around, you can shrink, you can grow, whatever. So, this allows you to get to do what you love to do, right? What you love to do, and you don't have to do what you don't like to do, and you get to be more present in the moment with the people that you are having relationships with. And the best thing of all, when your mind is freed up of all this stuff that you got to do every day, you actually start seeing way more opportunities that are available and bigger leverageable opportunities that can really grow your business fast, like Kim was sharing. So thank you for allowing me to share today.
Thank you so much, Coach Korn. I had a question as a follow-up to all of the nuggets that you had dropped, because there was a piece in there that I want to make sure that we identify. And you had mentioned when you're hiring additional people to help grow your force, you had said, do not hire someone who does not have knowledge in the field. And I wanted to know if you could explain your reasoning for that.
Actually, yeah, that might have been. I don't know that that is what I meant to say. Um, it could be somebody in your field or not in your field. What I see a lot of people do is they're like, I'm going to hire an assistant to come in and clean up my database, for example, because the database is usually one of the things that everybody has out of control and they haven't talked to people and they're not communicating systematically. Well, the last thing you do is hire, a 15 or $20 an hour person who's not been in your world or in a database world even to come in and clean up your database. And it is, you've got relationships sitting in that database. I look at the database like it's a bank vault. I mean, and if you just hire somebody to clean up your database, for example, I hear that one all the time. You hire somebody to clean up your database, it's like you own a bank and you just gave the hourly rate person the combination to the safe at the bank, and you said, hey, there's all my dollar bill bands are popping open, and money's just spilling everywhere back there. Would you just go back there today for the next week or whatever, just work in there and clean that money up and put it back in its stacks? Really? You're going to do that? So it's and it is about, I'll tell you the other part of it that's e-myth stuff is you want to have a business and a system where the system drives the business and people work the system so that you can hire average people. That's who you're going to hire most of the time, is an average person, because it's average and they deliver extraordinary results. So now it can be in somebody in the field, but if your system's really cranking, it wouldn't have to be somebody in the field. Now, when we're talking about talent, that might be different. If you're having somebody lead a certain organization, you might want somebody with some more background, but then you plug them into a system like I just explained, and their productivity is like 100-fold versus if they got to come in, they're a little better than everybody else and they're just working at their natural ability. Does that make sense?
1,000%. You answered it more beautifully than I could have asked you to, and I appreciate you so much. So you bring your own individuality to a system that's working. And so it makes it so much fun when we anchor that in. That structure actually creates freedom. So I'm thinking in terms of Brad, great stuff, very concrete. I liked what you talked about, and I want to kind of take you to a place where everybody you can see this. You walk into any franchise. It could be any franchise, but let's talk about food because it's so obvious. We walk into a McDonald's, a Burger King, you name it. I don't need to go through all of them. You walk in and you realize that same burger, that same process, they drop the fries for how long? That same thing is happening in another same franchise. 4 minutes from here, 20 minutes from here, an hour and 40 minutes from here. That's happening all over in thousands, tens of thousands of franchises, because they did what Brad was talking about. They created a process. Everything has a process. That's where our leverage comes from. So again, you've seen it. You've seen it in business. There's no way that the CEO. I mean, John Legere, I think is the way he says it, but John Legere was the CEO of T-Mobile. He wasn't making phones. He wasn't selling the phones. He wasn't doing any of that. He was the executive overseeing the things that made all of that happen. That's called leverage. So again, you witness this every single day, and yet for whatever reason, we still get back to the place where when we start our own business or when we're in business, we somehow believe we're the one that has to deliver the value. And I want you to really get this. You're the one that has to deliver the vision for the value that's going to be given. You are not responsible for all the actions. You're responsible for the process and finding the people who will take the action on your behalf in the philosophy that you live by, in the culture that you created, in the process that you've set up, in all of those things that you've done, because you did exactly what Brad Korn talked about. You kind of processed the way you see it being done. And by the way, Brad, one more thing. You know that when you start hiring people and you start bringing other talent in, suddenly somebody has a better way of doing than what you had. And now you've got somebody else's brains in it, not just their time in it, and we start to have even more leverage. So again, remember, you are leveraged through people, systems, marketing, etc. You do not have to know everything. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything. You have to be the visionary that can see it and then desire to create it. And you will find the people along the way. So again, kind of wanted to give a big top view of what Brad Korn just said, because Brad, that was a little masterclass, very similar to a process. I'm just glad you laid it on the table like that. So